What's up, guys? How y'all doing? Cosmic Carry here, bringing another World of Tanks video. And today I'm going to be doing a quick video with regards to sites that I use to help me become a better tanker, etc, etc. You know, the most common sites that I use. And it's kind of the videos now are kind of aimed at the new guys coming in just as much as my existing subscribers. So existing subscribers, you know, some of this info might not be relevant to you guys, but you know, I've got to take these new guys into consideration. And absolutely, and you know, you guys, you new players on World of Tanks, you're more than welcome here. Absolutely. So first things first, the forums, you know, there's World of Tanks .com. I'm not sure why it doesn't say Xbox, but anyway, so this is the main page. It's recently been redesigned, revamped, you know, for the Xbox One and all of that good stuff. And this is the main page, and basically up here you can get your stats basically. So if you go here to my profile, you can scroll down here, and it shows basically all my information, all my personal stats on me in general as a player, and stats on all my tanks. You know, what's my win rate, you know, how many tanks have I played in, and number of battles, etc, etc. So for instance, you go to like medium tanks. If you actually click on the individual tank, you know, it's going to take you to the info on that particular tank, you know, its speed, its armament, etc, etc. But if you actually click on, one second, the little icon, let's go back here, the plus, it'll click on your stats in that particular tank. You know, these are your stats in that particular tank. So there's, you know, two different types of stats available for each and every tank. You know, there's the stats on the tank, and then there's your stats in that particular tank. Okie dokie. Excellent. This is the, let's go back to the main page. Can we go back to the main page? Okay. If you go down below, you know, there's all the news, etc, etc, what's going on and all of that good stuff. This is where you submit a ticket if you have any kind of problem, any kind of issue. They have a really good support system in place, and they kind of respond really quickly. Wiki, forums. So let's go on the forums real quick, and keep in mind when you're on the forums, don't take anything too seriously. You know, pinch of salt and all of that stuff. And you might come across a few douchebags, and but that's, you know, that's part of the game, so to speak. But for every douchebag, there's like a million really cool people on here, and you know, there really is. And people generally come on here to either moan, you know, about certain things, which is, again, you know, part of the game. Well, there you go. New perks are screwing the majority of players. Or you discuss packages and guns and tactics and maps, and you know, it's just a discussion. And anything else, don't bother. You know, if you get into like an argument with someone, don't bother. Just draw a line in the sand and say, you know, it's like I said, just don't take it seriously. You know, do not take it seriously, because a lot of people on here take themselves way too seriously, you know, because they've been, you know, frying chicken all day, and they are home, you know, they come home at the end of their shift and they're all big and important on here, or at least they think they are. But yeah, so, but it's a wonderful place. It really is a wonderful place. It's a great community, and the developers actually communicate with you. You can, the developers actually, you know, take feedback from us lot, you know, the players, into consideration when it comes to the updates and all of that good stuff. So that is pretty neat. So if we move on, What is the next? Okay, this is this. So there's Wiki, World of Tanks Wiki, Wikipedia, and there's a a whole bunch of wikis here. There's World of Tanks PC, planes, warships, Generals Blitz, and down here is Xbox. A lot of it's kind of 50-50 for me. It's either I'm on PC, the PC version, or I'm on the Xbox version. It really is kind of 50-50. Sometimes the info on Xbox, on the Xbox part is lacking and not up to date. But it's still decent. It's a very nicely designed website. You just click on what you need, and there's a lot of explanations in here on the game mechanics, guides, etc., etc. Very decent website. When it comes to World of Tanks, just as much as you play, you should be reading just as much. Just in your spare time when you can, just read, and you'll learn a lot, and you can use it in the game. You really can. Moving onwards, let's have a look. Tanks GG. This is a very nice website. So what I love about Tanks GG is you get to browse the tanks. Let's have a look at lists, and so you can, for instance, I want to look at the Lorraine. It's a tier 9 French medium. Okay, so you hit tier 9 French medium, and there's Lorraine, and you click on the Lorraine, and you get a whole bunch of information. You get a whole bunch of information on aim time, accuracy, damage, the pen, etc., etc. You can switch it out, to the Top Gun, and it just gives you so much information, that you can look up, etc., etc. And of course, you can change all that by adding, equipment. There you go. What else could we add? Well, anyway, so you can just fiddle around with the stats, and you can figure out your tank, etc., etc. And also, this is where you can look at the armor. This is where you can hit 3D model, and you can look at the armor, and you're looking at the tank basically from the point of view of a shell coming in. Basically, that's how I kind of perceive it. Imagine if I was a shell coming in, from here, from this, facing down, and I was going to hit the tank right there. I would need 20 millimeters of penetration in order to penetrate, that armor right there. Because if you look, what does it show? Okay, so the armor thickness here is 40. Okie dokie. That's because we're looking straight down, and that armor is flush, facing us. So the armor is 40. And don't look at the effective armor, look at below the effective armor. It says armor 40 mm, 40 millimeters. Thing is, when you're facing the tank like this, most situations you're going to be facing tanks. You're not going to be looking at them from above, unless you're artillery, of course. That 40 millimeters of armor becomes 47. Oh, okay, 50. So this is where you figure out what kind of penetration you need to penetrate said tank, etc., etc. And you can see also weak spots here. See. See, there's the weak spot. So it's like I said, it's all about studying and reading when it comes to World of Tanks. So again, Tanks GG, another great one. Let's have a look. What else do I have here? Tanks GG. Oh, okay. World of Tanks Labs, and these are forums for the best players. Basically, these are forums for the best players. This is where the best players, or from the PC version, come to, you know, chit chat and discuss things, etc., etc. And it's called World of Tanks Labs, you know, and there's some amazing information here, basically. And they do have a forums, you know, like I said, I've never registered here because you have to be a fantastic player, you know, to come on here. Otherwise, well, I don't, you know, first of all, it's PC, so I've never signed up, and I don't know, you know, and you get the impression that, you know, this is where all the really, really smart guys come to, you know, chit chat, and somebody of my level, you know, would not be tolerated there, kind of thing. But yeah, it's a great place to kind of scouting. Where do I start, you know? And it just gives you these fantastic, really, really insightful articles about equipment and this and that, and you know, I've read so much on this, you know, really have so much. Here we go, strategies, you know. Oh, we're back to scouting. But anyhow, it's got a ton of information on here. There is a ton of information here. There really is. And I think I just saw that. Yeah, compare. You'll see Quickie Baby using this site quite often, and I use it a lot. Kind of because it's when you're grinding a tank, it really kind of shows you where your tank stands, you know, in the scheme of things, you know. For instance, I'm grinding my T44, my tier 8. Let's have a look. My tier 8 Soviet medium, and it really does, it kind of puts things into perspective when you compare it. For instance, what should be Japan? I like the STA medium, STA1, and let's put the American there, USA medium. There we go. Okay, so now it's comparing all three of these tanks. You know, how do they stack up against each other? And it really does put your tank, you know, it gives you a new perspective, and it kind of really shows off the strengths of your tank, and it also shows you the weaknesses of your tank, you know. And you realize where you are in each and every battle in the scheme of things, you know, how good your tank is, you know, how good do you need to be. So he's showing all the top values here, and of course this is based on PC again, etc., etc. So you look at, like, for instance, there you go, hit points. You know, my tank here is marked in red or pink or whatever, has the lowest amount of hit points out of these three tanks. So that, you know, that's an eye opener. You know, you got to play accordingly. So and you take a look at this, it's kind of right in the middle when it comes to armor. Turret armor front, 120 mils, you know, hold down action. Engine power, nothing too spectacular there. Power to weight ratio, very, very decent. That means, you know, I've got the edge when it comes to mobility over these two tanks. So that, you know, I've got a quick, fast tank, but lowest amount of hit points out of these three tanks. And view range, signal range, who cares? But take a look at this, you know, 160 alpha, you know, 240, 115? Huh? What is this? What am I looking at? Or whatever. 115? What are we even looking at? Is this the crappy gun? Well, anyway, who cares? We're not who gives a flying hood? So then you can see, you know, rate of fire, etc., etc. So it really does kind of you can see straight away if you measure up against, you know, I usually kind of measure up against the like the Brit equivalent or the American equivalent, and you know, all the Soviet, and it kind of, you realize, okay, this is a good tank, okay, this is a bad tank, okay, these are my strengths, okay, these are my weaknesses, and you got to put your strengths to the forefront and you got to hide your weaknesses. So it's, yeah, so it's indeedy. So those are the main websites that I use basically, and yeah, that's it. Any questions, comments you have, let me know, and we are good to go. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Sorry for my regulars if I bored you to death, and take it easy, and adios muchachos.